What's going on, socialites? Ryan here with the Global Pokemon Society, coming back at you with another video highlighting some monotype teams you might want to use in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Before we hop into them, I got 3 teams plus some extras for you today. We got Psychic, Fighting, and Dark on the table. But before we hop into that, I want to know, how are you enjoying the games? Have you beat the games? Are you playing on Showdown? Are you getting some teams ready for some Wi-Fi? Are you interested in VGC? We'll be having our draft league starting at the end of next month, after the holidays, all that fun stuff. So that should give everybody in the league plenty of time to get into it. We'll be having 20 teams in the majors and I think maybe like a dozen teams in the minors. It's going to be a pretty big league this season, so looking forward to that. But let's hop right into it. Looking at the Psychic team, starting off with our Psychic Surge, our Psychic Terrain Setter, Indeedee females. So Indeedee got a bunch of nerfs this generation. Unfortunately, lost Mystical Fire. Still had Mystical Fire. We might be looking at a more offensive Pokemon, looking at male Indeedee. But we're going to go with the female Indeedee here. Maxing out their defense, getting close to the max with HP, and then the rest in special defense, bold nature, just so we can survive. Dazzling Gleam with the Terra Fairy type, that way if we have to hit dark types with Indeedee we can do that. Screen support, and then Healing Wish to heal back up any of our harder hitters in the back. Eject button, I was debating that over Terrain Extender, but I think if you lead off with Indeedee, you just want it to get pushed out and bring in somebody that can hit hard against your opponent's like setup and lead Pokemon. Our next one is a new face, Armorogue. Fire Psychic. Life Orb using the weak armor ability. If you wanted to go Flash Fire, you could, but then I would probably take away the HP investment. Right here, the speed investment is that when you get hit with a weak armor boost, you outspeed non-choice Scarf, Dragapult, and you outspeed like the base 90s without investments, such as Annihilate, who doesn't really run that much speed investment. But you might even want to creep that a little bit more. But that's before the weak armor boost, and let you take a couple more hits with that HP stat. Armorogue is the only Pokemon that gets Expanding Force, which is why we want it with our Terrain Setter. We want to hit those really hard Expanding Forces. You could try a Choice Specs version, but I do like having the ability to switch around in case there is imposing Dark type or Steel type on the team. Terra type is Psychic, again, to just boost those Expanding Forces to crazy levels. Armor Cannon is Armorogue signature attack. It's a special fire version of close combat, so it will lower your defenses, but if you get hit with a weak armor boost and you got the terrain up, they're not going to be able to hit you with priorities, so it doesn't matter too much about your defenses. Dark Pulse to hit ghost types and other psychic types, and then Taunt just in case you come up against something kind of fat that you need to taunt down before they can toxic you, or whatever they want to do. Say you're playing against mono normal and they got a Blissey, you might want to taunt it before you figure out what you want to do from there. But yeah, really like Armorogue. I might try it in some Wi-Fi battles, trying to grind up the candies and the money to get some good teams going. But again, I hope to start that probably by the latter half of next week at this point. Next up, we got Espathra. Espathra has been seeing a lot of play with the stored power set. So you go with HP and defense investment, bold nature, leftovers. So you want the longevity because you are going to be calm minding up. You're going to be roosting, using your speed boost plus the calm mind boost to get off huge stored powers. You can also Terra type Fairy to hit hard with Dazzling Gleam after a couple stored powers. Really nice. Yeah, if your opponent doesn't have like a ghost type, because even if they have a dark type or a bug type, you can Terra type Fairy and resist all that. So if they don't have like some strong ghost attacks to break through you, Espathra can really get out of hand. Looking at a bulky Pokemon team here, we got Slowbro with the heavy duty boots because we want him to be able to come in and out using that regenerator. Surf as your water stab. Terra-type fighting to go with the Iron Defense body press set. So you could also change these EVs around if you want and put some more into special defense. But I think wanting to max out on the body presses is a good idea. And we'll get to it in the end, but we are running 2 screen setters on the team between Indeedee and another member who we'll get to here, so it's not that bad. But yeah, you could definitely put more into the special defense if you're worried about that. But basic Slowbro stuff, doing Slowbro things. Next up we got Gallade, who is our physical attacker. Gets that new ability Sharpness, which gives a choice band boost to its cutting attacks. That includes the Sacred Sword, the Leaf Blade, and the Night Slash that we have on there. You could run Psycho Cut if you'd rather that as your 4th move over Trick. Again, Trick is just to stop like opposing setup Pokemon and walls. But you don't want to lose out on Night Slash because then you wouldn't really have anything that could hit Ghost types other than Leaf Blade. This set is a little tough against things like Amoonguss and Toxapex if you're going against a poison team, but I'm not too worried about that because you're mono psychic, right? You got these guys with psychic attacks who can just screw them up. Yeah, but basically, Gallade, one of my favorite Pokemon. If you watched our Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl Draft League, he was on my championship singles team. Love Gallade. And last but not least, we got Screamtail as our screen setter. Went with Bite over Crunch. Again, we want to make sure we can hit some ghost types. And with that speed, I don't mind giving up a little bit of power for the flinch rate. Because Screamtail's not really there to be attacking. We're going to set up screens, going to set up our Stealth Rocks. That's about it. Looking at some other Pokemon that you might want to think about. There is Veluza, who has the Fillet Away, which is a Shell Smash that instead of dropping your defenses, takes away some of your HP. Not a big fan of this Pokemon. As you can see, it's pretty frail. So I don't even know how you would get off something like a Fillet Away. Cloyster can get off stuff like Shell Smash because of its good physical bulk. So you got to find like the perfect setup for this, and I just don't know if there is. But it has good coverage. Liquidation, Drill Run, Ice Fang, Terra-type Ground. In case you got an electric attack coming at you, you can Terra-type Ground and then Drill Run with Stab. Very nice. Mold Breaker as well. Ice Fang on a Dragonite to ignore the multi-scale with the Mold Breaker. Ignoring Mimikyus just to break through them. Nothing on here really would Oko Mimikyu, but still just to ignore their disguise. All that sort of stuff. My honorary Revival Blessing might be in the game if you're playing on cartridge. If you want to go with a Trick Room team, or if you want a discount Espathra, there is Rabsca. You could definitely use Rabsca like an Espathra. Has exactly the same moves and everything, but gets that bug type, so it is worse defensively. Again, though, this Pokemon does get Revival Blessing and it does get Trick Room with that low speed stat, so you could think about a sort of Trick Room team. Rabsca on Trick Room sounds really nice because if your Trick Room sweeper gets knocked out, you can use Rabsca to bring them back with the Revival Blessing. And lastly, Bronzong. Bronzong, kind of similar to Slowbro that we have on the team. But you get Stealth Rocks instead of Recovery. I think I'd rather have Recovery and Regenerator, so that's why. But if you didn't want to, say, run Screamtail with extra screens, you could do some sort of Bronzong. And this would also work very nicely on a Trick Room team as well. Moving on to the fighting types. We start off with the big bad himself, Annihilate. Going with the Chesto Resto set here. You want HP investment, that nice 110 HP, max out on special defense. Bulk up. Have your speed to outspeed the base 60s. Yeah, not much to say. Annihilate just does so much work. against so many different Pokemon. Just good coverage between Drain Punch and Rage Fist. Not much more to say about that. It's Annihilate, do Annihilate things. Going back to Annihilate, though, I've been doing like 6-star raids in the game if you play the game, and usually they're not too bad if you got like good teammates, and I can even solo some of them. Like usually my own I solo, and then I join other people's. But I've joined like 3 Annihilate raids, and he is like impossible. With his Defiant ability, you can't lower his defenses to try and get big hits, because then he's just going to start Okoing you. The more you hit him, the stronger his Rage Fists are. Once Hisuian Zoroark's in the game, then it's going to be a lot easier, because you'll be immune to both of his stabs and just be able to attack him with the freaking Bitter Malice or whatever it's called. But yeah, until then, unfortunately, they showed us Hisuian Zoroark in the trailer like a year ago, but never got him in the game. Next up, we got Breloom. Got your Grass Attack, Zen Headbutt against your Amoonguses and your Toxapex again. Mach Punch, Spore. Pretty standard. Steel type just for defensive utility. Stop flying attacks. Psychic. And Fairy, so just to keep your Breloom around a little longer against those sort of types. Iron Valiant, our first Fairy fighting, so really good offensive typing. Going with the choice spec set here: Moonblast, Shadow Ball, Energy Ball, and Trick. You could also put Focus Blast if you want to do like a mix set. You could do something like this with Close Combat. And maybe you go with Life Orb instead. Something like that. But I'd rather just max all into one. Just go straight with the choice specs variant. And you know, you could do Focus Blast if you really want the fighting coverage. You could do that too if you don't really care about the trick. But we have fighting coverage on Annihilate, on Breloom, on Great Tusk. Like we got fighting coverage, so I'd rather be able to stop opposing setup walls. Like again, I bring them up, but say you're spamming Moonblast and then they bring in something like or if they're weak to Moonblast and they bring in something like a Chansey or whatever, you want to be able to trick them to stop them from, you know, having their way with you. Our support, Great Tusk, max HP, max special defense. You could probably also go something like this. I think that'd be fine too. But yeah, Body Press, Earthquake for your stabs, Rapid Spin for hazard removal, and Stealth Rock to get your hazards up. Pretty standard stuff there. Great Tusk, just really good lead. Next we got Toxicroak, which is our anti-fairy Pokemon. A lot of good fairy types, so want to make sure that we can take care of them. Gunk Shot, Ice Punch, Sucker Punch with the Terra type Dark, so you can clean up in the late game, and Swords Dance for setup. You could also try and do Drain Punch on here too, maybe over the Ice Punch. After Swords Dance, you'll be getting back a lot of recovery, and Dry Skin allowing you to be have a water immunity on the team as well. And lastly, love my boy Quaquaval. Choice Scarf set here with the Moxie. So since we're going Choice Scarf, you want to make sure you can hit hard. So you got the Wave Crash, you got the Close Combat, you got the Brave Bird. Like this guy's just coming in, he's trying to get a couple kills, right? Because he's going to die from these attacks. U-turn too if you need some momentum. But yeah, this is just like a nuke button. Bring him in. Get a kill on something that's weak with your Wave Crash, Brave Bird, and then maybe have enough to knock something else out before the recoil or your lower defenses allow them to knock you out. And some honorable mentions here. Flamigo. Love Flamigo. Scrappy, so you can just spam Close Combat, not have to worry about any ghost types on the opposing team. Has Brave Bird coverage, Liquidation, U-turn. So again, just a very nice choice Scarfer. Palmot, again, if you're playing in a game that you can use Revival Blessing, Iron Fist, Thunder Punch, Ice Punch, Mach Punch is very good coverage. You could also run Fire Punch if you want, say over the Ice Punch. Or if you're not running Revival Blessing, you could run Fire Punch or even Volt Switch for that. But yeah, Revival Blessing, again, if you can use Revival Blessing, you might as well, right? And lastly, we got Slitherwing. Going with an Assault Vest to give you a little bit of bulk. Slitherwing has a really good move pool, so I just want to go over a few options. Like, I don't think this is the best move set for it. Would depend on the rest of your team what you want to coverage, because this Pokemon gets stuff like Close Combat, Earthquake, Bulk Up, U-Turn, Flare Blitz, you know, like so many options. But Leech Life, again, on Assault Vest, keeps you healthy, keeps you going. Flame Charge, boost your speed, so you can outspeed Choice Scarfers. Like, you could even go a little bulkier. Like, you could maybe do, let's see, like if we don't want to, like, what was Annihilate speed at? Annihilate speed is pretty good, so 220. So if we just go to 221 and say we put like the rest in defense, like that's pretty bulky, and you'll still be able to outspeed a bunch of Pokemon, and after a Flame Charge, you'll outspeed most of the metagame. Wild Charge to hit flying types. Also, you got the Terra Electric there to boost that and make you resistant to flying types. And First Impression just to get big damage off right off the rip if you can't get the Flame Charge going. So I definitely think Slitherwing could fit on a team as well, for sure. It's a very nice Pokemon, got a very nice stat spread there. Alright, lastly we got the Dark type. Lot of legendaries and strong Pokemon on this. They definitely gave Dark types a lot of good Pokemon. Chi-Yu, one of the legendaries, basically like the premier Choice Scarf Pokemon in the game right now. Flamethrower, Dark Pulse, Psychic, Fire Blast. You could also put Memento on there if you want over Fire Blast. If you're got low HP and you just want to try to get a another Pokemon in with some setup, that's definitely a option. Beads of Ruin, of course, lowering your opponent's special defense by 25%, so you were just hitting like a truck. Really strong Dark Pulse, perhaps flinching as well. Another legendary, Chien-pao. This is our physically offensive legendary, lowers your opponent's defense by 25% with the Sword of Ruin ability. Ice Spinner, you could do Icicle Crash, but it's so unfortunate when you set up with a Swords Dance and you go for an Icicle Crash and you miss and then they kill you because you are very frail. So yeah, rather have the accurate attack in that case. Ice Shard, just to pick off opposing Choice Scarfers or something, revenge kill. And Sacred Sword, so just for your coverage there. Ting-lu, the last of the legendaries on our team here, is your physical wall. We are maxing out special defense though, because it does lower your opponent's special attack by 25%, so that makes it very bulky. That huge 155 HP stat. You could also do something like that. I see a lot of people do 248. I'm not really sure what the reason for that is. I know it has something to do with the odd number in calculations or whatever, so keep that in mind. Earthquake, Ruination for your stab. Hazard, Stealth Rocks and Spikes. Terra Steel type, so you can resist as you are defensive, and Steel type is one of the better defensive typings. Next up we got King Gambit. This is kind of like our late game sweeper. if you like to play the Sucker Punch game. Supreme Overlord gives you a 10% boost for every teammate that is fainted in the game. Kowtow Cleave, 85 power, never misses. Iron Head for another stab. Sucker Punch, Swords Dance. Just your good old King Gambit. And King Gambit has good bulk. Like, when you max out on special defense like this, you already have a really good defense and HP stat. You can take some hits that aren't like pure fighting, you know? Grimmsnarl set up some screens. Parting Shot, just good prankster. You could also do like Taunt over Parting Shot. You don't even need screens. Like, if you want to do something like Thunder Wave and Taunt, you could definitely do that. You could also do like a bulk up set if you'd prefer. You do something like Drain Punch, bulk up, Taunt, Thunder Wave. There's a lot of ways you could go with Grimmsnarl, right? But just a really good Pokemon. But I like having, I like its addition to Parting Shot. And we do have some frail Pokemon. Like, half of our team is really frail, so getting the screens up will allow them to live a lot longer. So I think a Screens Grimmsnarl is pretty good on the team. And lastly, we got Meowscarada, Choice Band. Flower Trick, Knockoff for your stabs. Thunder Punch for your coverage. U-Turn for momentum. Terra-type Steel, because if you're bringing this guy in multiple times, maybe you want a more defensive type before it changes its type with the Protean. Protean only changing once per switch in now does make it a little awkward, but it does benefit banded sets. You are a little weak to like physical walls, so keep that in mind with this team. But you got stuff like Swords Dance on King Gambit, and maybe that's why you'd rather have Taunt on here than the screens, just against that, because you do have a lot of physical attackers. Some other Pokemon you might want to think about though: Roaring Moon. This is the booster energy set with Acrobatics, Terra-type Flying, to hit hard, Earthquake, Iron Head, Crunch. Wo-chien, the only legendary that we didn't put on the team. This guy's a little awkward, right? He doesn't have like the crazy HP stat that ting-lu has, so you gotta more max out on its other options here. Doing like a Leech Seed substitute set with Foul Play and Giga Drain. Terra-type Ghost, so if they're trying to go for a fighting attack, you can Ghost, make them miss. Maybe that gives you exactly what you need between the Leech Seeds and your Foul Play or Giga Drain to knock them out. Tablets of Ruin does lower your opponent's attack stat by 25%. And lastly, Iron Jugulus, Heavy Duty Boots, Hurricane, Flash Cannon, U-Turn, and Taunt. Yeah, you could do this like a kind of like an anti-lead. You do something like it doesn't get the Stealth Rocks. You don't get the Stealth Rocks? Why do you look like you get the Stealth Rocks, but you don't get the Stealth Rocks? Wow. Alright, never mind. This guy's trash. Don't use him, but I feel like, you know, people like Iron Jugulus, so I feel like I should put him on there. But yep, those are the teams. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what Pokemon you've used on them, what Pokemon you don't like. Are there any that I put on the bench that you feel like should be on the starting team? We only got 6 more types left. Probably gonna do Rock, Ground, and Steel next. Do like the mineral types, and that would leave Dragon, Fairy, and Ice for the last. As always, thanks for watching, socialites. Stay classy, society.